Hello and welcome to another Read With Me. I am Isabel Bedell and I'm here to read with you another amazing chapter. We are more than halfway on this amazing book, The Art of Spending Money by Morgan Housel. And we are on day 12 and it's going to be amazing. Okay. Not only that, but if you haven't checked out the last video, which was day 11, chapter 10, this chapter, I think it's one of those chapters that really helps you see where you are in life, where you might need to improve, where you feel maybe it'll strike a nerve. You have has that ever happened to you? Like, you read something or you hear something or someone says something, and then now all of a sudden, like, that really struck a nerve in you because maybe that's something that you need to change or maybe that's something that you need to do. Well, that particular chapter really attacked in a very uh, proactive way the act of being independent and the act of freedom and what that actually means in the highest level versus the lowest level, both monetary wise and quality of life wise. So I invite you to go check it out. It's uh, the previous video here on this series of Read With Me, where we go over this entire book. Now, I'm really pumped to actually get into this particular chapter. It's called Wealth Without Independence is a Unique Form of Poverty. Money you haven't spent buys something intangible but valuable, freedom, independence, and being able to spend time in your own way. To me, that is everything. Time. Time. The time to learn, the time to read a book, the time to learn a new skill, the time to spend with your family, your friends. All that is so necessary. And once you get to a point where you realize this is a waste of time, when you start looking at those particular things, you start outsourcing things. For example, right now, I am literally waiting for our groceries to arrive in about 30 minutes. Once I'm done with this chapter, our groceries will arrive, and then I can go to the gym and then do whatever I need to do, right? But I've outsourced the grocery shopping, going, getting there, the stuff that needs to be put in the cart, paying, then having to transport all that stuff, and then having to organize it pretty much. That takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of time. So that to me is an example of that's a waste of time according to the value of my time today. So with what we're about to dive into, I can tell already that there's some really good stuff in here. So I hope you're ready. This is going to be a good one. Let's start it off with now. The people I look up to the most are not necessarily the richest or most successful. Almost always, they're the freest, the most in control of their own lives. It took me a while to realize that. Rich, to me, used to mean having lots of fancy toys. Now, it means not being hurried, spending time with my family, control over my schedule, and intellectual independence, doing life my way. Independence, that's true rich. A related perspective I hold, one that many either disagree with or find counterintuitive, is that there's no such thing as unspent money. You spend every single cent you've earned. You spend every dollar in your bank account, whether you know it or not. Money you haven't spent buys something intangible but valuable, which is freedom independence, and being able to spend time in your own way. Every dollar of savings buys a claim check on the future. And every dollar of debt you hold is a piece of your future that someone else controls. Oof, damn. That is so good. I've always been a big saver, but I've never viewed my savings as idle money. I've never even viewed it as saving up for a purchase in the future. I view every cent of savings as a ticket toward a greater degree of financial independence, which is my true goal. If I move $500 into my savings account, I view that as a saving, as having purchased $500 of independence. It has almost no difference in meaning to me if I had purchased a $500 television. That money is spent in either scenario, just spent on different things that offer different value. And I spend frivolously on independence. I blow tons of money over having control over my calendar. I have no budget for how much I'm willing to spend on autonomy and spending time with the people I want, when I want to, for as long as I want to. And for me, independence has the highest ROI than anything else I've spent money on. That whole idea, trading money for time rather than trading it for stuff, but having more time, is going to provide greater joy in your life. It's probably the most overlooked aspect of spending money because to most people, the extra time and mental clarity you get from independence and saving doesn't feel like spent money. And let me tell you a quick story about two athletes, each of whom made lots of money, but used it in different ways. Antoine Walker made 108 million playing 12 seasons in the NBA. Call it 25K a day. That's awesome. 25K a day. After Walker signed a 6-year contract in 1999, the Boston Celtics president and coach Rick Pitino said Walker will never have to worry about money again in his life. Walker agreed. I thought I was set for the rest of my life, he said in 2015, which was 5 years after he filed bankruptcy. Whoa. During his playing years, Walker had, by his own count, 6 or 7 cars that were replaced when he saw someone driving a nicer one, a person on payroll that included supporting 30 friends and family, and a house for his mother that had 10 bathrooms and a full-sized basketball court. He allegedly never wore the same suit twice. He gambled millions in casinos. The final score before the bankruptcy judge was 12.7 million liabilities against 4.3 million in assets. He's now a financial advisor to athletes, admirably begging players to learn from his mistakes. John Urschel had nowhere near the same level of athletic talent or stardom. A fifth-round pick of the Baltimore Ravens in 2014, Urschel played 3 seasons and made even fewer headlines as a player. He earned less in his entire career playing football than Walker did every 11 weeks playing basketball. His salary was about 600,000. It was close to the league's minimum wage. But the way Urschel chose to spend his earnings was astounding. He lived a fine life, luxurious by any standard, but he saved the vast majority of his paycheck. Why? Well, I'm thankful for the money and I was able to make what I was able to make, he said. I'm not a billionaire, but I'm at a point where I'm financially stable. I don't ever need to worry about money. And by all accounts, he did not. He retired from football in 2017 and went back to school to get his PhD. He's now a professor at MIT. But the point is, he could have done whatever he wanted. The takeaway is not live less like Walker and more like Ursha. They're the extreme ends of the spectrum. But let me ask, whose life, not their sports talents, but the life they lived, do you admire more? This is not a trick question. I'm willing to bet you admire Urshel more than Walker, even if Walker didn't go bankrupt, but merely stretched himself thin and had to give up some of his luxuries. You'd probably still admire Urschel's outcome more, but most people would. That's because Walker lost control of his life. He reached a point where his decisions were to live, where to live, what to drive, even what clothes to wear were dictated by a bankruptcy judge. But Urschel maintained control of his life. He could do whatever he wanted, when he wanted. His life was his own canvas to paint. And that control over what you're doing is actually what people admire. They admire it because it's what they actually want. They want it because it's what makes people happy. Nassim Taleb says, what matters isn't what a person has or doesn't have. It is what he or she is afraid of losing. The more you have to lose, the more fragile you are. So many people, regardless of income, have a lot to lose because they are so reliant on other people for their security and satisfaction. As I'm writing this, I read this morning in the newspaper of the story of a CEO who was once worth several $100 million, whose bankers are liquidating his assets because he borrowed so much money that he now can't repay. Bankers sold his yacht, his home, the debacle got him ousted from his company. I was struck. Here's someone in the top 0.001% of income and wealth with less financial independence than someone you might consider to be poor. Wealth without independence is a unique form of poverty. Let me read that one more time for you. Wealth without independence is a unique form of poverty. Preach. It's easy to scoff at the mere mention of financial independence because it seems like something reserved for spoiled trust funders and billionaires. I once had a friend who refused to save any money because it all felt so trivial to him. His view was, why save $50 when it moves the needle by so little? That's a mindset that I'd like to break. Financial independence is not black or white, it exists on a spectrum. At every point on the spectrum, every additional dollar of savings, you move up a little bit, and your life can improve a little bit more. Here's how I view the spectrum of financial dependence and independence. Did you see yourself a favor? Do yourself a favor and find yourself on this list, okay? And he's going to go into a couple of levels of the spectrum. Level zero, it's total financial dependence on the kindness of strangers who have no vested interest in your success. Think of panhandlers and CEOs asking for government bailouts. You have a complete lack of control over the direction of your financial life in a way that leaves you vulnerable to a fragile, often cruel world. Level one. So that was level zero. Level one is complete financial dependence on people who want you to succeed because they like you and their reputation is attached to your success. Think about kids under the age of 15 who are supported by their parents but too young to work. You're borrowing money from friends and family who realistically know you can't repay them. Also fits in this category, okay? Then you have level two, the ability to partially support yourself by adding value for others while still somewhat reliant on external support. Think of young people who work but still rely on their parents to support what they consider basic lifestyle necessities fit this category. Same for workers who rely on the government assistance and semi-retired workers who rely on pensions. A major part of your financial well-being relies on the decisions of people who may or may not keep it going in the future. Okay, now you have level three, the ability to fully support yourself by adding value to others, but with a value that is marginal and easy to replace. So this is a common category for both people and businesses. It is grinding and tenuous. It smells like independence in the sense that you can pay all your bills, but a boss or a customer still owns your day and can dictate your future. Your future relies on their decisions, and if you lose your job, you may struggle to find a new one, and you have little savings to fall back onto. And then you have level four, enough savings to cover run-of-the-mill problems. You can endure hassles that every person should expect to experience on a regular basis without getting wiped out. A small medical bill, you're okay. It's a cold and you need to spend more on the heat this month, you're okay. Your kid needs new pants, you're okay. This is a level at which you realize that having literally just a few dollars in savings provides a small degree of independence over life's hassles. Then you have level five, enough savings to cover larger unforeseen problems. You still rely on the whims of your boss to get by month to month, but if a crisis struck, you'd probably be okay for a reasonable period of time. Your car breaks down, you're okay. Your furnace breaks, you're okay. You now have some degree of independence and protection against what you might consider bad luck in a life's day-to-day risks. Then you have level six. I hope you're catching this. It's going very, very detailed. Level six right here. Some retirement savings, education savings, and the avoidance of credit card debt. This looks like you feel like you have one hand on the financial independence wheel. You still rely on the bosses, but you can foresee a time down the road when your current savings will grow into a new level of independence for you and your family. You may not be fully independent, but you have sufficient hope that both fuels your optimism and helps you sleep at night. Okay. Then you have level seven, the ability to pick a job that avoids the most egregious examples of bullshit and unnecessary hassles in your life, which means you still rely on your boss for your paycheck, but have the freedom and market-able job skills to say, no, not you. You're a terrible boss, and this is a terrible job, and I'll find someone else to work for. A big part of this is having sufficient savings that allow you to both quit when you want to and take the time you need to find a new, better job. This is a wonderful and realistic goal for the majority of people. If you make it to level seven, you're crushing it. Level eight, becoming comfortable enough with your socioeconomic status that you don't feel the need to show off to strangers. This is the first glimpse of not just financial independence, but intellectual and identity independence. I love that. Financial, not just financial independence, but you have intellectual and identity independence. The inability to do this is a hidden form of debt and dependence. The inability to have those is a form of debt and being dependent. But if you're in level eight, you should be able to have the financial independence, intellectual, and identity independence, the trifecta, the trinity. Then you have level nine, the ability to avoid most debt, including auto loans, student loans, and even mortgages. Debt can be so cheap. It can be cheap capital, but it keeps you beholden to strangers who own a piece of your future decisions. I once knew a guy who hated his job and had a clear vision for what he would rather do, but felt like he had to stay at his job to be able to repay his student debt. The debt, therefore, cost so much more than its interest rate. It cost him his career independence. A similar fate hits people who borrow so much for their house that they're stuck in a city they no longer want to live in if they can't sell their own home for more than what they borrowed. And once you view debt as a claim check on your future options, you stop asking, what is the interest rate? And start wondering, how much independence is this going to cost me? Wow. I love that. Yeah. And then we have level 10. Few realistic economic situations would cause you or your family to be pushed back to level five or below, which means you could support yourself for a year or more. off your liquid savings if you got hit by a medical emergency or a huge recession. It's the first true stage of financial independence. You can say, no, no, go away to almost anyone or any employer or any economic event with high odds of recovering from those repercussions. Then you have level 11. He's really going, huh? Okay, there's like past level 15. Okay, let's go. 11 means passive income like interest and dividends covers a meaningful portion of your living expenses. Hmm. You still work for a paycheck, but your portfolio is now providing enough income to reduce the common stresses and time commitments that restrict most people's independence. It's common for this level of independence to be owed to a slim lifestyle as much as a large investment portfolio. And once you taste this independence, you realize that lifestyle desires can compound faster than almost any asset. Oof, very true. Okay, level 12. Your investments and their reasonable return expectations will cover basic living expenses for longer than your life expectancy. Congrats! You are no longer reliant on others for work. You can deal with them if you want, and you probably will, but only if you want. And then, when you want, with whom you want, with all this feels amazing. Many people reach this level with self-funded retirement savings. Here's level 13. Your assets and their reasonable return expectations cover above basic living expenses. You can live the lifestyle you prefer and have something left over for family or charity. Above basic. That's what this one means, level 13. Expenses can be defined however you want. It varies by person. Just be careful about the unnecessary lifestyle creep that can pull this independence down like gravity. And remember what comedian Chris Rock says. If Bill Gates woke up with Oprah's money, he'd jump out the window. Level 14. Your independence lets you do and say what you please, unconcerned with other people disagreeing with you, since you don't rely on their financial support or opportunities they could offer. One note here, the concept of FU money. Having so much money that you can tell people to F off without fear of repercussion. That's great, but so is kindness and civility. I agree with you. So I aspire to, no, thank you. I'm not interested in that. And I respectfully disagree. And I'm free to ignore you, money. That's another way to put it. And one is rationalizing being a jerk, the other is intellectual independence. And here we go, level 15. You wake up every morning realizing that you can spend your time doing what you want, with whom you want, for as long as you want. Bosses don't control your day. Social debt doesn't influence your decisions. Actual debt doesn't even control your options. You beat the game. And you realize that while this doesn't guarantee happiness and there are still plenty of opportunities for you to screw up your life, you have unlocked a lifestyle boost that 99.99% of humans who have ever lived have not experienced. The only risk is that you forget how grateful you should be to be in this situation. Now, regardless of where you sit on the spectrum and regardless of how you aspire to get, the key is realizing that independence is a spectrum. Independence is not something you either have or don't have. It's not binary like that. Every little bit of savings and every little bit of lower expense pushes you higher on the independence spectrum. Now, some people value independence more than others. Some people want to be higher on the spectrum than others. There's no right answer on how much you should want. Let me just say that one more time. There's absolutely no right or wrong answer on how much you should want. Okay? Don't think that this is a you should be here, or you should be there. Absolutely not. Too many people don't bother chasing independence because it seems out of reach, when in fact they could easily, at any income, be improving their independence spectrum and in turn improve their lives. The trick is viewing every bit of savings as having actively purchased something, even if it doesn't come with a receipt. You have purchased the ability to do what you want, when you want, with whom you want, for as long as you want. And that, my friends, is priceless. Let's talk about some hush money, okay? I think bragging is the inverse of how satisfied you are with life. It's one of the most reliable psychological formulas around. In the movie Broadcast News, Tom Grunick asks, what do you do when your real life exceeds your dreams? What do you do when your real life exceeds your dreams? Aaron Altman replies, keep it to yourself. The more you want people's attention and the more you try to focus on your attention on how smart, rich, and successful you are, the higher the odds that you're trying to fill some sort of emotional hole. When I see people clearly bragging about how much money they make or they spend, I try not to judge. I'd rather ask, who are you trying to impress? What do they actually think of your boost? And is your bragging unintentionally doing more harm than good? And I wanted to introduce our new baby, Luna. She is 5 months old and truly an angel in our household. Yeah. And to be honest with you, I do feel like on the spectrum of all this, I believe that when you start looking at your life and you start adding onto it, whether it's you get married, you bring someone else, you bring a kid into your life, or even a human kid. Yeah, I know. Or a human kid. You want to really look at that spectrum uh, table and just evaluate where you are. And it's healthy. I believe, this is my personal opinion, I believe it's extremely healthy to evaluate where you are financially, independently, your level of independence, and the intellectual independence that you have as well. Those are such great measurement tools to really like reflect on your life. Some people, and I know them personally, they cannot sit down and have an honest conversation with themselves about where they are and where they want to go and what are the steps to get to where they want to go. I am so blessed to have a very supportive family. My spouse, Vanessa, is amazing. We we talk about money every day. We discuss our goals, we discuss our investments, we discuss do we want, where do we want to live, where do we want to go? And with that, we make our decisions. It's not based on how much we need. It's where do we want to go? How much time do we want to spend? How long do we want to be there? Who do we want to see? What do we want to do? And because that changed in my life, I am now who I am today. And I am very happy with who I am today. I feel before, I could definitely say that my life revolved around other people's expectations or possibly time schedule, or it dictated a lot of my intent on what I want to do, how I want to do it, when I want to do it, because I don't know, some person said no, or some people didn't want to go, or whatever. I believe that once you get to a certain point in your life and you can have those honest conversations, your life flips, it changes, and it becomes fun because now you're in control of it. You're designing it, you're creating it, you're in charge. Okay. That's why I really, really love this chapter so, so much. And I implore you to take a look at that table and find out where you are. Be honest with yourself. And it's okay if you're in level 0 or you're in level 15 or 16, whatever. It does not matter. No one's judging. And that's the point. You shouldn't even judge yourself. You should just analyze it from what it is, where you are at, and where you want to go. That's it. That's it. As simple as that. And once you're able to do that, get out of your head, get out of your emotions, and just look at it where it is, things will open up. Okay? Make room for what's to come. Life is happening for you. Okay? This is hopefully going through the screen and into your mind and into your heart and into your soul that you have that opportunity. Okay? I'll see you the next one. I'm gonna go check out what my kid's doing, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye bye.